Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Burney with Uncover Your Radiance Within. And last week, my topic was on investing in yourself for your health, for your well being. We have to change our mindset that we can't just go through life and kind of just live our lives day to day and not make a conscious effort into investing in ourselves, whether that be investing time in terms of exercise, in terms of just downtime, things for yourself. It could be in terms of investing money into vitamins and the gym and holistic medicine, any of that kind of thing. That it does take an investment in yourself to live an optimal life, in terms of your health. And today I want to build upon this idea of investing in yourself, but today is something I feel really passionately about. It's investing in your relationships. And I'm going to focus on your main relationship, which would be with your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, your spouse, your significant other. I do think it's really important that you invest in that relationship. And I'll tell you why. Again, we go through life and we make it day by day, and we're managing, and we sometimes let life live us. That we're not really in control. We're kind of passengers in this thing called life instead of taking control of the driver's seat. And in terms of our relationship, too often we think we found that person, and you commit to that person, and you're living with that person, you're married to that person, and you think that now life will just happen. Everything will happen. We're together. I found my person. Here we go. But I challenge you to think that this is not such an easy path. You have to definitely invest in your relationship. And I do think it's more valuable to invest in this relationship than even in your own children. Absolutely, children are a priority, but the relationship with your husband, wife, your spouse, your significant other really needs to trump the relationship you have with your children, because without that household being pulled together by those two people, those two adults in charge, it really does affect the quality of life for those kids. And believe me, I know I've been through a divorce, and I'm in a good relationship. It's kind of funny because speaking of that, my son, I was talking to him yesterday, and he's a pretty deep kid, and he's 20 now, and we have some pretty deep conversations. And he's very analytical, and he's at the point in his life where he's trying to understand things. He's trying to understand situations and people, and just trying to. I think he's trying to better himself. But yesterday, he said to me something along the lines of, "Well, in a relationship, like couples have to like nourish that relationship so that it can grow." And I thought that was really profound for him at 20, because this took me a really long time to realize myself. And I'm hoping that he has realized that because of our example, because of the example with myself and my husband right now, and maybe from seeing other examples that didn't work. And I said, exactly, Nick, that's exactly true. That you have to, nourish your relationship. You have to keep growing in terms of your relationship. Like I said earlier, it's not just, okay, I found the person and here we go, cruise control the rest of our lives. Speaking of the car analogy, I don't know why I have car analogies. But last week when I talked about investing into your wellness, I mentioned how, car insurance comes to play when something goes really wrong. But with your car, you have to invest in all that maintenance. You have to invest in the new tires and then the new brakes. All of that, you need to pay for, you have to invest in. And that car insurance is really for when something goes bad. And the same thing with health insurance, that the health insurance is there when something goes wrong, but you do need to invest in your wellness all the way through. And I want you to think of your relationship this way as well. That you have to invest in your relationship, because if you think about your car, if you just drive it, and you drive it and you drive it, and you don't repair it, and you don't maintain it, and you don't clean it, and you don't replace the brakes, and you don't tend to any issues with the tires and anything that goes wrong, if you were to just drive that car without tending to any of those needs, any of that maintenance, any of those things that come up over the course of the lifespan of your car, it's going to fall apart. It's not going to last long term. It's going to possibly reach a point of no return at the end where it's not even fixable. And in a relationship with that other person, if you take the plunge, you get married, you do it, you commit, If you just start just driving that car and don't tend to this relationship like you would your car, and you might reach that point where things get so bad, where things are not maintained, you're not listening, you're not listening to those clues, to things that might come up, things that need tending to just cleaning it out, to polishing it, to waxing it, to making it brighter. It can potentially get to that point where it's not drivable anymore, it's not fixable anymore. And I encourage you to not let things get to that point, to invest in your relationship before it gets to that point. Just like with your car, invest in the maintenance, invest in cleaning it, invest in taking care of it. And that takes time and money. And the same thing with the relationship. It really takes time and money, and an investment in time, an investment in potentially money. But in terms of time, I know that sometimes we get to that point where, things are great at the beginning. I speak from personal experience, and then kids come along. And then you start to lose who you were as a couple, and you start to drift, and you have these new roles, and you really lose what made you connected to begin with. So one thing that I think is really important, and I learned better the second time around, was to keep dating your significant other. You have to commit to dating. And I hear people say, oh, we haven't gone out forever, or when we do go out, we go to a family party or something. But you really need to date your person, alone, one-on-one. I think it's really important. And it doesn't have to be elaborate dates, but you need to commit time to just that person. You need to talk. You need to connect. You need to try to be the people that initially fell in love with each other. There had to have been something there initially, some initial spark, some initial interests. And you have to keep that alive. You have to keep that alive, definitely, as time goes on and things get more complicated, as maybe there's more people in your family and different job related stresses and things like that. But definitely that time is really important. And to just sit together on the couch at the end of the night really isn't enough in terms of time, because not only time, you need it to be quality. And like I said, in terms of like a date night, it doesn't have to be something elaborate, but get back to who you were, like be fun, do those things together, have deeper conversations, because really everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be heard, and you want to be valued, especially by this person who is your person. Like, you chose this person to be your partner in this world, and you want to be seen, heard, and valued. And sitting on the couch at the end of the day, sitting on the couch on a Saturday night, watching TV, watching sports, whatever it may be, you're not seeing each other. You're not valuing each other. You're not hearing each other. So I challenge you to invest in date time. And be creative with that. It could be just a picnic. It could be just sitting and having coffee. It could be a dinner out. It could be, going somewhere. But really, that date time needs to have time to talk and connect, and to really, keep in touch with that person. How well do you really know this person that you might have been with for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years? Because people grow and change, and the person that you met may not be the person you're with right now. And sometimes we don't even take the time to talk through where they are, what growth they're going through. But really talk to that person deeply. One of the rules for date night, put your cell phones away. Really be connected to each other, because that's really the thing we need. We need to feel connected. We need to feel valued by that other person. Cell phones can get in the way. Kids can get in the way. The household can get in the way. And I know, that was definitely true of me. My husband always knew he needed to take me out of the house, because if I was in the house, I was going to find something to do. I was going to get up and go throw another little laundry, and I was going to get up and do something in the kitchen, or I was going to clean this off. So we really did invest in each other. We invested in date nights, regular date nights, to keep that connection, despite all the craziness of, we had 4 kids. They all did sports, all the crazy schedule. We had that time for us. And now that the kids are older, like, it really has paid off. Like, that investment truly has paid off. And our connection just keeps deepening every year, every day, every year. And sometimes that involves an investment in money. It might invest an investment in, babysitter. It might take an investment in going out to dinner, paying for a dinner or whatever it may be. But in the big scheme of things, like, you invest in all these other things. You invest, like you said, in, your kids' sports and all these things. A divorce is really expensive. So invest in yourselves, invest in your relationship before it reaches that point. Again, the car analogy. You take the time and effort to get it washed, to clean it out every now and again, to get those new tires on. And you have to keep doing this with your relationship with your significant other. Um, in terms of effort, just those being really positive. Like, this person is your person. And I hear sometimes how people talk about their significant other or even to their significant other. I was listening to a woman the other day in a store, and I made an assumption, shouldn't make an assumption, but I assumed it was her partner. And it was just awful the way she talked to him. And sometimes we talk the worst to the people we love the most, whether it be our children, our spouse, and really think this is your person. And I think we need to show that person respect. And when you start giving respect, showing respect, you will receive it back. And, if that's what's lacking, start with you. How can you be a sweeter, a more loving version of you? I was out with a friend of mine to breakfast yesterday, and she was telling me she's going to be celebrating her 38th wedding anniversary. And her husband called, and she took the call. And, hey hon, okay, yeah, And I loved how she spoke to him. I loved the love in her voice that she still had for her husband after all those years, and they have adult children and all kinds of ups and downs, health issues, everything that people deal with in life. But I was so impressed with how she still spoke to him. And I challenge you to, to really appreciate your person, to invest a little, maybe emotional energy, maybe a little, let your ego down a little bit, to invest in some sweetness and to some kindness. We talk about being kind, but we need to be kind to those people who are closest to us. And I do believe that will be reciprocated. Invest in just talking, like I said earlier, on those date nights. Like, invest in questions. Like, where does your person see themselves in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? What are some big things that you're working on? What are some goals that you have? What was the best thing that happened to you this week? What was the worst thing that happened to you this week? Sometimes we're so busy in complaining and telling about our day and, oh my gosh, this happened and this happened and this happened, that we don't really connect with each other. We just hear complaining. We hear, the pitching and complaining, and we don't really hear each other. So, hear each other, spend time with each other, invest in your relationship, invest in time, even for trips, weekends away. It's really important, to get back to who you were initially when you met and you fell in love. Bring back that spark, that sexiness, that flirtation. I really think that that's important in a relationship. And if it takes going away for a night to Niagara Falls, to get away for a night with your person, just to bring some of that back, some of the fun, the flirtatiousness that maybe isn't there if you have young kids in the house, older kids, whatever, children, someone else in your household. It's worth an investment to just get back to having just fun with each other, enjoying each other's company. And of course, if you can go on vacations alone, I highly, highly recommend. And that's something that we have invested in over the years, is weekends away, vacations alone. And it definitely has paid off. And like I said, we're going on 12 years of marriage. This is both of our second time around. We learned a lot the first time around. But our relationship is deeper and deeper every day. We appreciate each other more every single day. And, I hope we, at 38 years of marriage, like my friend, are still loving toward each other. So, as I said, last talk was to invest in yourself, but definitely invest into your relationships. And it definitely will pay off. It'll pay off in terms of your mental health. It'll pay off in terms of your physical health. But really invest in that person that you chose to be your partner in this world. And if you don't have that person, just think about how you could, in the future, if that's something you're looking forward to, is how can you maybe invest differently than maybe in the past, maybe something that didn't work out? How can you show up differently? How can you invest in that relationship differently so that you can have all the wonderful outcomes that can come with having that person to support you and be with you? So this is Michelle Burney with Uncover Your Radiance Within. If you have any suggestions, any questions, please reach out. Next topic is going to be on time management. That was something that I had asked for, recommendations for talks. And it does take time. It takes time to invest in yourself. It takes time to invest in your relationships. It takes time to get moving and exercising and all these, things I'm recommending to you. It does take time. And, part of your key to success is, how do I find that time to do all these things that I know are probably good for me? How do I find that time? So until next week, this is Michelle Burney, Uncover Your Radiance Within.